Hello, welcome back once again. In this video, we're going to be using some turtle graphics, but instead of making everything, by that, we can go and freeform it. We can drag this arrow wherever it is we want. And then with a right click, it'll clear away. And we can start again. So that's what we're going to do. Let's show you how to make it. So, let me open this up. Let me get my cheat sheet up. So obviously we're using turtle, so let's just import ourselves some turtle. Okay, and once again, I also need to make sure that I have my sense of my screen, so we're going to need both of that, so I'll just name, my canvas. You don't have to use the same names I do, but just letting sure that you know this. You should already know from the last video how to make a screen. And of course, I'll just name my mover, because I like using that name, is a turtle. And I'll make it a triangle just for the sake of making it a triangle. And mover.speed, this is going to be a -1. Because we are going to be controlling the speed of it. How fast we move our mouse is how fast it moves. We do not want to move our mouse and have the thing slowly lag behind trying to follow us. So let's get that out of the way right there. So what we have here is we are going to have a lot of code coming up front. And it's not going to work at all until all of the code is up. So this is one of those, trust me, I need you to believe what I'm saying before I hit the run option. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a DEF. Now you notice how it said DEF? That DEF stands for define. Now in other types of programming, you say that's a function. Basically, remember how back in the very beginning I said that code works in such a way where it will purposely do line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, line 5, line 6. It will always go in the order you tell it to go in? This is the exception. This is it will go in chronological order until you tell it otherwise. So, I have made myself a function. I have made myself a separate part of code right here with this DEF that basically says whatever is inside the DEF will only happen when I call it. If it's not called, it will get skipped. That's the point. So, I'm going to name this, I don't know, dragging mover. Because that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drag my mover. So, dragging mover, and it has an X variable, and it has a Y variable. Okay, it has a X and a Y. It has a left and a right, and it has an up and a down. So, yeah, those parentheses, those are what you put inside your parameters. So, in this case, we need these two parameters. And I'll put a colon. So, everything is then inside of it. So, everything inside on this indent belongs inside dragging mover. So, I'll just put my mover.onDrag, so obviously on a drag, and I'm going to put none. Now you're probably thinking, well, if I'm dragging the mover, why would the onDrag be nothing? Because if you try to click and hold the mover without this onDrag being none, it's going to interpret it 700 bajillion times a second, and you will crash your computer because it's too much information overload. So I have to purposely turn it off, do something else, then turn it back on again. Okay? So that's so that if you notice when I was drawing, there were like jagged lines where I moved my mouse so fast it couldn't make a perfect smooth turn. This is why. But that's okay. And I'll say mover.setHeading. So instead of setting my position, I'm setting a heading. I'm taking it towards whatever. So the heading for my mover is the mover. The heading is itself towards X, Y. Towards what X, Y? This X, Y. The X, Y I change it to. So I'm setting the heading. I'm setting where it's going to go, and I'm going to say go to. Instead of just having it move the position there, it's going to actively try and calculate how to get there. X, Y. The same X, Y that we're using here. And then, of course, mover.onDrag. What's the onDrag? What are we dragging? What are we using to drag it? Well, we're using the dragging mover. So basically, oh hey, look, I called it. So basically, at the end of this code, this function calls itself and goes right back up top, and then it goes down and calls itself again, and it goes right back down top and then calls itself again. You may notice that this is essentially an infinite loop. You would be correct. We have purposely made ourselves something that calls itself and never ends. Because what happens when the code reaches the end, when this program reaches the end of a line of code? Okay, the code's over, the end. It just stops. Well, we don't want that to do that. So that's what we're going to do. So if we try to run this right now, let's see what it does here. Absolutely nothing. As I said, it will not work. So what I'm going to do instead now is I'm going to say define, and I'm going to make a new one, and I'm just going to call it erase. And erase is also going to have the same X and Y as the screen. So there we go. And what's going to happen is mover.clear. We're going to get rid of everything that was involved in that turtle. So all the pens, everything we got will be cleared. And that's an easy code right there. You understand what's happening right there. So whatever is happening to my triangle, I'm just going to erase it right there. And that's basically what it is. But of course, obviously nothing happens because we never call these guys to begin with. This guy is called inside itself. This guy is never called at all. So what we're going to have is we're going to have what I'm just going to say a main here. The main, and we don't need to worry about the X and Y in this one. But what we have is we have ourselves a main loop. Okay? So we're going to have our main function right here that we call. So I'm going to have turtle.listen. Now what does turtle.listen mean? It means my turtle, my entire class of turtle, not the object turtle, but the class of turtle, notice the lowercase t, is going to be listening specifically for instructions by me. So it's not instructions in the code, it'll be live instructions done by the person. So I'll say mover.onDrag is going to be the dragging mover. So I'm going to go and call it. And then of course my turtle.onScreen click. So obviously when I do an on-screen click, that's going to do something. What is it going to do? It's going to call erase. So when I click, oh, go to erase. You see, on-screen click. Now, if I wanted to make this my clicking on my turtle, I could go and click turtle. But or if I wanted a key, it would be something like on key press or on button down, depending on the language. But we specifically want on-screen click. And then erase. And then we could put in a button. Since we're using a screen click, we could do 1 for left mouse, 3 for right mouse, or 2. Now, on my mouse, I only have 2 buttons, so 2 is actually my right mouse. For others, you might have to put a 3 in here instead of a 2, because you have 3 buttons on your mouse. So, this part right here depends on what type of mouse you have. And then, of course, because, oh look, there's our main, well, we need it to actually work and continue working. How do I loop this? Well, my canvas, my entire screen, dot main loop. So basically, this main will keep looping over and 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 over again, so that it is always in play for us to work with. And then I just need to just simply say main to call it, because if you noticed, before this, the only time we do this main loop, we don't even call main, so it would be once again another thing that's passed over. But once we have this main here, it'll actually, go, oh hey, oh main, here we go, main, go to main. Oh, main's a loop, it'll always go, always go, always go. And from main, our turtle is always listening. We can always drag and go to the dragging mover, and we can always, at any point in time, erase everything with a click. So run module, and now click, 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 and I held and dragged, and you see, the jagged edges because of all the, the turning the mover on and off again with the dragging. And then I right click, and it goes away. Now once again, that right click might be a 3 for you, it might be a 2, but there we go. Now of course you can always make this harder and change the color by, maybe hit 1 for red, 2 for blue, 3 for green, whatever. You can do all sorts of fun stuff like that, but I think this is enough of where it is. We've learned a lot in this code. You've learned how to use some functions. You've clear. We have on drag, set heading, go to. You've called something in itself. You've done some recursive coding. We've got turtle listening. We've got an on-screen click and how to do that. We have a main loop. We have flat-out calling functions to begin with. So yes, all of this is a lot of new stuff in very small amounts of code. And yeah, so thank you very much, and next week is the big project where you're going to put everything you've learned from these past couple of videos to the test. We've had a week of assignments, so now we're going to have the put it all on the line and put it all in yourself. So we'll see you then. You'll be making a race.